I just watched True History of the Kelly Gang, which is a Australian film about Ned Kelly, who was a sort of outlaw in the 19th century in Australia. And I'd never actually heard of him until I saw the film, but I've since researched there's been loads of adaptations about him. Well, going back to the very first full-length feature film ever, in 1906, I think, was the story of Ned Kelly. Most of it's been lost now. I think there's only 20 minutes left available. But Ned Kelly has his roots in film history. What's interesting about him is he wrote down his story before he died for his daughter, and he wanted it to be so that he's remembered for his own words rather than the British writing his story for him, which is a bit ironic because this film is a co-British production and Ned Kelly is played by British actor George Mackay. But still, what's important is this film, it states in the very beginning with opening text, it just says, nothing you're about to see is true. So we know right from the start it's not completely historically accurate. It's more a kind of interpretation of the story, and like how people throughout the years of some people really like him, some people don't like him. Everyone kind of he's this, although he was real, he's become this mythical figure within Australian culture, and he's been adapted lots of times. There's a Mick Jagger film, there's a Heath Ledger film, there's obviously that one from 1906. Everyone's got a different interpretation on him, and this one, I think, even if the beginning text didn't exist, you would know straight, like, well, not straight away, you would increasingly know as the film progresses that this isn't what happened. I'll talk about the costume because everyone kind of dresses like they're in an indie band, I think, and there's a guy in a plaid shirt, which I'm not sure if it is historically accurate. I'm guessing surely it must be. I don't know. It didn't look it. But then again, there's films like Jojo Rabbit where you look at the he's wearing like a yellow plaid shirt. He's wearing loads of those costumes. Like you're like, is that accurate to 40s Germany? It doesn't look like it, but it is. That is how they dressed. It's just not how typically in films they have a style which isn't accurate to real life. So I'd say in this it looks wrong for, I think it's set in 1870-ish. Well, it's set over like 10 years, but or maybe even a little bit more. But yeah, it doesn't look right, but it's very artistic. And same with the cinematography. There's a motif throughout about like there's a bit in the forest at night where there's a spotlight on a horse, and it looks brilliant, but it's not. It's clearly impossible. It's more of a metaphor than anything. And at the end, there's a little bit throughout, but then it culminates at the end. There's some strobe effects. Don't watch this film if you've got epilepsy, by the way. There's a lot of strobing, but it looks incredible, and it's clearly not meant to be realistic. And so I think, because I didn't know of Ned Kelly before I saw this film, I was quite lost. A lot of it is meant to be very sort of, you're not quite sure what's a metaphor, what's literal, what's what's artistic. I think if you're Australian, it's probably fine, or if you just know about Ned Kelly, it's probably fine. But for someone who doesn't know anything, it's very hard to follow. Well, you think you know everything, you think you're getting it, and then something will happen, and you're like, what? It would just be incomprehensible. It's weird. It's never any in between. It's either I completely get it, or I just in an instant you don't know what's going on. But no, I thought George Mackay, I'm not sure which one it is. He is brilliant. He's brilliant at everything. I've seen him in quite a few things. He's great in Captain Fantastic, although his accent was a little bit off. 1917, he was great in. Like he really is great in everything. The whole cast was. Russell Crowe was great in it. After a few days ago watched Les Mis, and he wasn't good in that at all. But I thought he'd be in this a little bit more because he's like second build, but he's really good. There's something else which is stylistic about the film. They at the start, it was in 16:9 the aspect ratio, and then I noticed it. I noticed later on, like, it's in 2:1. I didn't know it was, and then it just creeps more, and you're like, and to a point where I noticed the aspect ratio. It's not something you normally think about, but I was looking at it, like, what is that? It's between 2:1 and 2.35:1. Like, that's such a strange aspect ratio. And then I kept focusing on it, and it slowly creeps down the whole film. It goes from 16:9 down to cinema aspect. So it's to get, like, I guess, more cinematic, more. It's a tightening, and it's I guess because as Ned does more kind of criminal stuff, the law kind of it tightens around him. The noose tightens around his neck, like, metaphorically, so it kind of, the screen like gets smushed in more and more and more, and I thought that was very clever. It was a bit distracting because once I noticed it, I was really looking, and I think I could see it moving, but I feel like it might be a placebo if it's like a pixel every, I don't know. I will say The cinematography from Ari Wegner was very good. There was a few nighttime shots where they looked a bit green instead of black. I wasn't a fan of them, but on the whole, it looked great. The like climax, that looked phenomenal. It's not naturalistic, but that's the point. It looked great. The music by Jed Kurtzel, who is the director, Justin Kurzel's younger brother, that was brilliant. I thought it was very. It was kind of unlike most film music. I recognised a similar sort of genre of music, or a similar type from something else, but I can't put my finger on what it was. It felt very new. It was kind of eerie. It almost felt like it was played backwards, but it wasn't. I really liked it. It set a really nice tone. The editor Nick Fenton and the sound designer Frank Lipson also did a really great job with that final. When you see the film, you'll know it. So I like the film a lot. There's some stuff I still don't really get. I wasn't sure there's a Thomas Mackenzie's character is like his, I guess, love interest, but they also kind of have nothing in common, and they have a few scenes together, and then she's just kind of forgotten about. I still don't really know who she is. Like, the place where they're at looks like a brothel or something, but then she has a child with everyone she's with, so it's like, well, that kind of defeats the point. I still don't know who she is. It just feels like there's a few stuff which is left unresolved. Maybe if you know the story for real, then it will help you out more. But I don't feel like a film should have to be the case. So yeah, I've seen a lot of people like it a lot. I did enjoy it. I'd give it 3 stars just because there's some really, really strong stuff there. But I think I've thought about it, but I've done more Googling. But I still, I don't know. I feel like maybe I do understand it, but I also feel like I can't understand it because I just didn't. I think it was missing something. I think it just felt like there was a big jump in time. It felt like I got to know him a lot, and then suddenly he was like an outlaw and doing loads of stuff, and it was just, I don't know where this all came from. It felt like there was a big character change that kind of came out of nowhere. But no, it was alright. I'll give it 3 stars.